Hi, good evening. Welcome to Learning by Saying. Today, we have Zeng as our speaker, touching on a topic by an interview by Jim Roger, talking about severe economic crisis and possible war. And before I go ahead with this, pass the time to Zeng. Let me just briefly explain to you how learning by saying. How it works is that usually a lot of people will learn about stuff from books, seminars, or they go to YouTube and learn something. And then research shows that by teaching or sharing whatever they have learned will enhance their retention on the information that they have learned, and they can work on their brain, and then they can think through, and you will help them to retain better than for example, some people they do, what do you call that, dry run. Some people they do dry run. Is better for people to coach and share than to do a dry run, so that they can have a better retention. And we do have a Facebook page. It's called Learning by Saying. At Facebook, you do like us, and then if you want to be a speaker and share your information, you can also sign up with us through our Facebook, and then we will allocate a time slot for you. So without further ado, let's welcome Zeng to share with us his review on this Jim Rogers interview. Zeng, pass the time to you.
Okay, so thank you, Jonathan. So this is the interview by Jim Rogers, probably around 1 hour or more than 1 hour. The video, you can see the video links in the Facebook page as well. This is an exclusive interview. So first of all, I mean, generally, what is this talk about? It's talk about the how Jim Rogers see the current economy and the world economy, and the conclusion is that it's coming, severe crisis is coming very soon, and that can have severe consequences, like even the war or World War, right? If you know that World War I, World War II, so maybe World War III. So it's that serious. So first of all, let me briefly share who Jim Rogers is, because that's important, right? So this sharing is from my review of this interview. So it's his view, not my view. I try to understand his view. Yeah. So who's Jim Rogers and why it's worth listening or considering his views? He's a renowned international investor and expert who is regularly commenting on economics and investment in the media. You can see him on CNN, Bloomberg, and so on. Right? Just Google his name and you see a lot. He's a highly respected investment and finance industry because his ability to read and see the trends that ahead of many other people. Yeah? So I learned this from reading one of, I know about him from one of the book by Robert Kiyosaki. He talked about this guy, Jim Rogers, is someone who can see the big trend. Yeah? So since then I follow him and I like it. Okay, so he retired at the age of 37 and traveled around the world 2 times. Yeah? He was from Wall Street. Now he's living in Singapore. So one of the things is he saw the financial crisis in 2008. So he left to Singapore in 2007. And you can see, okay. So now first I go into the sharing. The sharing is based, okay, so there will be, the main message is there will be a serious problem in the world economy in the next probably 1 or 2 years or even earlier. So what does it mean? Maybe I try to paint the picture, how it looks like. So it's a financial crisis. It is worse than 2008. So now if you remember what happened in 2008, how's the life, how's the job market, and how people lose job, and how, so like in Singapore or in anywhere, if you remember that situation. Yeah, so this one is worse. Yeah, could be worse. And it's worse than, he's 70 years old plus, so he mentioned that this something that can be worse in his lifetime. He's 70 plus. And it's something can be like 1929's Great Depression. If you heard about that, it's in the US. The Great Depression is the one that followed by the broke out of communism and fascism. Hitler, right? Then after that we have the World War II. Yeah. Okay. So what happened is the economies will collapse, with the banks will fail. There will be widespread of business bankruptcy and massive unemployment, and there'll be emergence of dictators, and could lead to war as well. There could be proxy war in some area in the war, or regional war, or maybe war in the world war like World War III. People lose their jobs and they cannot feed their families, so they will go out to the street and protest against the governments in the world. Right? Then there will be riots and violence, so you can imagine. And the army and police will be present on the street to keep the order because of the protests. Yeah? Inflation will go through the roof, and with money will lose the value very fast. There'll be hyperinflation, and you cannot buy much with the money, and price of goods will skyrocket. That's hyperinflation as well, and there'll be shortage of supply at the same time. Right? If there's a war, there's no production, and no production, then the shortage of goods. And yeah, countries with a strong army, this one is my opinion, or I mean I interpret like countries with a strong army will invade other rich countries for resources or assets. According to Jim Rogers, the trigger can be from anywhere in the world, like Iceland in the case of 2008 crisis. Iceland is a small country in Europe, but then Iceland failed in the banking system. Then the debt. Then after that, it's spread out. At first people don't know what happens, and it's spread out to the whole world. So what he means that the trigger can be from anywhere. So that is how it might look like, right? But the main, okay, now let's go to the reason, which is the most important thing, right? The reason why it can happen, or it may happen that way. The main reason is because of the debt problem in all the big economies, all the world, like in US, in Europe, China, Japan, all the big economies, right? The main problem is the huge debt in the US, because currently the government debt in the US is around 19 trillion, and it was only 10 trillion in 2008. So it almost double in 8 years, double the debt. Yeah. And US is a debtor nation, or the largest debtor nation in the history of the world, according to Jim Rogers. Debtor nation is like the one, it means that the one is borrowing from other countries. Creditor nation is the one that lending money. Right? So US is borrowing money from other countries to spend, and 4 decades already 4 decades until now. The main lender are like China, Japan, Germany. Yeah. How is it possible that someone can borrow for so long? Yeah. Normally it doesn't happen in every country or in every normal situation. But how is it one country can do like that, like US? The reason is because USD is the currency of trade, world currency of trade, and they are the one who controlling the printing of the money. So let's take example. Why is this important in this printing of money and currency of trade? Because let's say example, ourselves, so it's easier to understand. So we have 2 people here, like me and Jonathan. So we are in the economy, 2 people. Then we trade. So trade means exchange of goods and labor that we produce. For example, I make ice cream, then Jonathan makes maybe rice. So I give him ice cream to consume, then he give me rice to consume. So that's a trade. Trade is always, there must be balance of trade. So it's a fair, right? We only exchange something with return of same value. So maybe he gave me the food, I give him ice cream, then I pay him some money, then he pay me back, and so on. But eventually, actually, the main thing is that we exchange the goods. Yeah. So this is special. Let's say if I don't give him ice cream, but I say I print. I'm the one who print money. I'm the bank. I give Jonathan money. Then he take the money. Then next time I give him other money. I print more money. I give him, and print more money. I give him. Yeah. So until one day, I still can do that if he accept my money and he doesn't need ice cream. He can survive with his own production or anything, whatever. But he doesn't need my ice cream. But he's okay to take my money, which is actually my paper say I owe you, I owe you, I owe you, I owe you, I owe you. Okay, he's okay. But until one day it's too much that actually I owe you also have interest. Let's say I give Jonathan IOU, he will charge me interest. Yeah. So that's one of the benefit for him as well. So one day he said that, oh, I think he cannot pay back my money, my loan anymore. So I don't accept your paper anymore. I don't accept the money you print anymore. Then that would be the trouble for me. Yeah. So US, so that's what I mean is that US print US dollars and bring the dollars to buy things in the world, and everyone accept it. And that is the same like Jonathan is accepting my money. Yeah. So other reason is that US keeps spending. I mean the spending keep higher and higher, and the trade deficit. The trade deficit is just means that like US produce less than they consume, so that they need to import. So people give them more import. That's called trade deficit. And Jim Rogers said that the situation now is similar to in 1920s and 30 when the fascism and communism broke out. Yeah. And also other thing is the debt level in all countries. Okay, he said also the stock market now is also not good. Actually, 2/3 the market is going down, but only a few stock is up. Yeah, but people think that stock is good, but actually it's going down. If they look into detail of which stock is going up, which stock only, he said only 1/3 is going up, only then 2/3 the market is going down. So it effectively is actually going down, right? And one more thing is that not only US debt is bad, but also all the other countries like Europe and Japan and China and so on. So it means in the crisis, no one is rescuing anyone anymore because all are in trouble. Yeah? And so that is okay. That's a problem. So how can we apply? How can we prepare? Let's say if that really happens, the first thing is to get educated on the economics and financial. So when he advised us to be educated means understand things. So when we understand, then we will get worried, and when we get worried, then we know. So the same thing is like if you can see the typhoon is coming before anyone else, then you can prepare for yourself for the typhoon. Only those who don't know, then you get hurt. Yeah, the same like earthquake as well. As if you know tomorrow is earthquake, so you know what to do today already. So that's the thing. Then another thing is also once we get educated, then we also maybe can do other things. For example, like save more money, spend less because for rainy days, or invest in real assets like gold, silver, or commodities like food and so on. Because during the time of crisis, those are the valuable things. And during the crisis, there will be lots of values in the market. For example, stocks, properties, everything will crash. Then it will be very cheap. But actually, the value is still there. So if we have money, then we can buy those as well as a deep discount. And those, yeah. So that is my short sharing. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Zeng. Wow, interesting, very interesting. This time around, we are talking about this economy. Yeah, I also feel the pinch, as in the sense that I also sense that the economy is not really doing very well. I also do have an opinion on this. I am feeling that apart from the big macro economy, I also see that there's a transition of trend from old-fashioned kind of trade, which is labor intensive and asset intensive. Now a lot of this kind of trade, right, where last time people need to hire a lot of people, or they need to have rental before they can scale up their business, it starts to shift. I can see that there's a trend shifting. So it's also shifting to less labor intensive, like Uber. They have a platform, but they have a platform, but they do not have vehicles. So it's more like now there's a transition from the older trade or labor intensive kind of or asset intensive kind of trade to slowly transit to this kind of like platform kind of a trade. So just now when Zeng was talking about there's a potential that there could be a war, and everybody is not doing very well in the world. So I do have some questions, maybe I can address to Zeng. Maybe you can see what's your opinion on these questions.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, as you have mentioned, right, that the US, they have that means they keep borrowing money and they keep printing money. So what do you think, apart from I mean, why would people still want to accept their currency as the main currency in the trade? What do you think? Why would people, and why? And I feel that there's a trend also going. People are going to China. China is starting to establish their own currency that they direct trade with China currency, renminbi, and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is your opinion on this? Why do people still want to borrow money to lend money to US and then still accept their currency?
Yeah.
And
Correct.
they've been borrowing for 40 years.
Yes. So first of all, that is the historical reason. After World War II, US is so successful. Then there's a last time there's a link between currency and gold. Gold is backing. So when we mention backing, it means that you cannot print freely. You can only print as much as the gold you have in your vault. Yeah. So that is the first thing in after World War II. Then because all the countries in the world, like they lost a lot of lost country or maybe so they don't have enough gold anymore. So that time US dollars became the trade currency from World War II, 1945 until now. Yeah. So that's why people accept and use USD as a currency to trade. And second thing is US also largest economy in the world, right? And a lot of prosperity in Asia, like Singapore, Korea, Japan, and China, is export to US. Yeah. So that's why. So all these countries are the lender to US. Yeah. So that is a history reason, because that time those countries they need in Asia especially, and Germany also. But Germany is less. Germany also have domestic market, but on all these market, there's no way to have internal market is too small to have the economic growth. So they need to sell to US. US the consumption is so high, yeah, and so it's so good business, yeah. So that's why US that's why they can borrow a lot of money that way. But as you mentioned also, now people realize that the situation in the US, the debt is not sustainable, it's so high. So that's what you say. Few countries now start to think of the way to avoid US currency. That you mentioned, that China and Russia, they trade together. Yeah. But that one is slowly. Yeah. But they are already doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I can also see that there's a trend that US is coming up strong in their currency, and then they are doing something to it. And then what do you think for a country that is like US, such a big country, has been in power for so long, that has been regarded as a world leader? And then when they suddenly, if things are start to shift, that means from them being prosperous and slowly, if they are going to be weakened, what do you think they will do?
Yeah, so that's the same thing. It's like the what do you call let's say a poor. Maybe we just take a normal life. We understand. Let's say a poor person. Okay, let's say poor person and weak. Maybe they will do what? They will go, if they cannot work, then they go begging, beggar. But if a person doesn't have money, because everyone needs money because need to fill the stomach. That is the reason why I need money to buy food. So country is the same. So if a weak person, they will do begging. If no money, beg. But if a strong person, even no martial arts, strong, big size, like a wrestler and no martial arts, what do? You become bully, right? you ask people for money, and without doing something for them, just give me money, I will be your protector, or I don't care, just give me money. Yeah. So I think the one with with army, strong army and power, will find a way. That's why there's invade people. I mean, country invade other country because they cannot talk anymore, right? Then the other weaker one, let's say they don't want to lend any money. Then the same thing you see, like let's say loan shark or those debt collector. So first they do normal way, right? Then after that, if cannot, then they will use force. So force is a last resort, and if a person is powerful, I think more likely he will use force because that is the strength he has. Yeah.
Yeah, they usually will work on their strength rather than their weakness, right?
Yeah.
So if their strength is in force, or the strength is in their capability of declaring war and stuff like that, right? Of course, they will leverage very much as possible on their strength. But if that is true, right? If this is going to be the way, don't you? What do you think that as you mentioned that like it's like a typhoon is coming?
Yeah.
So this is not so much like a typhoon. It's more like it's not even like an earthquake. It's like a catastrophic kind of disaster.
Yes.
So it's unavoidable. Even though when we invest, what kind of investment do you think? I mean, if you can't be trusting any company anymore by investing in a normal way. As you know that Singapore, we don't really buy the real gold or silver. We usually buy a piece of paper. So we are very good.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. You continue. Finish your question.
We are very good in building a system for us to buy gold and silver, but not the real transaction as you keep your gold inside your house.
Correct.
So in times like that, right, when you talk about war is coming and stuff like that, how are we going to, we do not know really how to go and buy gold or silver to keep, because majority of the people usually buy a piece of paper rather.
Okay, so let me first, before answer that question, the first thing is, it is up to each individual to see how severe the thing. It is really up to individual, right? So let's say if it's not that, maybe it's like 2008 or something, then the normal system still there, the normal financial market still there. It means if people won't go and take away your things without your consent, But I mean, it's still because the law is still there, the democracy. I mean, the law is still there, the rule of law is still there. But in the wartime, the government can have the police and army, and in many countries, what they do is they will force. Even you don't want, they ask you, "Hey, give me your things." Then you have to give because it's a national order. So what I mean is that depends on how you see the severity of this disaster, then you will have a different way also. So first thing, then the severity is on the knowledge. It's like you see the typhoon. If it's a strong rain, then okay, right? I have an umbrella, right? But if it's typhoon, you need to stay in the strong place. Otherwise, the whole house maybe made by wood or something, it will be blown away, right? But if it's even more than that, so the first degree of the disaster depends on the knowledge. That's why the first thing he mentioned is the knowledge. Yeah. Then the second thing, once we have our own, it's the same actually in investment. The theme is always the knowledge, because the action you take is based on the knowledge you know about the situation, or the knowledge you read the situation, how you read it. Right. That's why there are people read differently. Yeah. So let's say if the case that he mentioned about this kind of severity and World War III and so on happen, then maybe you need to read about, let's say, World War II and World War One, what government do and how can we protect, right? Let's say if it's not that severe, then okay, then just now you mentioned another thing is nowadays people don't buy the physical gold, right? It's not correct. People buy, then can keep in the storage, like in the bank storage, or their own vault in the, like Cisco in Paya Lebar or a few places, Cisco, or they have those locker, your own very high security. You put all your precious thing. Yeah. So that still can work as well. Yeah. And other thing, as I mentioned, is that in the time of crisis, the food, the commodities here is referring to the real things like oil, like corn, like food, wheat. So all of these things will super high demand because it's not enough. No supply. You go to supermarket, there's nothing, no food. Yeah, so food and water. All this, the value will be very high, or even no need war or just a crisis. All the commodity price will be very high. Yeah. Then also another thing is just now I mentioned is the asset. Let's say it's like in 2008, it's not a war, but it's a crisis. There are few people, the investor, they made money in that time because the house value crashed. Let's say it's $500, $1,000. Now you buy only maybe 50,000, 10 times less. You know it already, right? The house still the same, still beautiful. It's like Warren Buffett. Do you know the value investing? Value investing is to buy the real asset. I mean the real valuable asset, but a cheap discount. The reason of discount is because of something else, not because of the economic itself. So in this time, those assets like the proper stocks, the company that have the real asset, let's say oil rig or company have the machinery or real things, or a lot of properties, because property is a real thing. Even though you price it low, but still a real thing. So if you have money at the time, you buy those things, then if you can still keep the title of those assets, then what do you call that? Then maybe let's say after a few years later, the value will back to normal. You buy 50,000, you get 10 times more. Yeah. So it's just that you wait for it to crash, then you buy low, then surely it will come back because it's a real thing. Yeah. So the same thing for land and this. As long as it's real, unreal is like the paper. Stock is one, certificate is unreal. Yeah. Because they can say that it's no value. But then the real thing is you can hold it, the tangible things. Yeah. So those business with the real things. Yeah. So actually the main thing is how severe is like if it's really become the war, then you need to have a different strategy also. Because war, even you have properties, maybe government can take your properties, or if you have gold and silver or jewelry, people still take it. Yeah.
Yep. Wow, this is really a very vast and deep subject. I think within 15 minutes we will not be able to cover. So it's great. At least we open up this topic so that let people think about how they want to manage their wealth in times of crisis. And like what Zeng said, it really depends on how they see the crisis. If they think that the crisis is at whatever level deep enough that to make them really sit down and to draft out a plan, then people should do it that way. Because and as we can feel it that the economy is not really doing very well, and it's also really good that we can go and explore, learn different ways to keep the value of our properties or things that we have, to let them buy things that can appreciate later on. Yeah. And then to learn more ways to invest. Having said that, our time is also up, and thank you very much Zeng for your sharing today. And this is really a very deep subject. We do have the link for this session. The reference, what I mean is that the reference, the interview is on our Facebook. So you can go to our Facebook, Learning by Saying, and then you can also find it under this under the speaker is Zeng, and then title is Severe Economic Crisis and Possible War Are Coming. Review of Jim Roger video interview. So do visit our Facebook and give us a like, thumbs up. Also sign up with us. At the same time, you can take a look at this this interview that is contributed by Zeng, shared by Zeng. And thank you very much tonight. And thank you, Zeng, very much for today's sharing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a nice night, everyone.
Yep. You too. Bye.